Hi, Ed. Thanks for the introduction. Appreciate that. Um, I just a little bit about my own background. And Gary, you are spectacular on goal setting, and I think everybody, doesn't matter where they are in the business, they need to listen up to that kind of thing all the time because it's somebody always adds a new little refresher to it to put a different spin on it, right? So I've got my page filled in from it, so pretty cool. My own background is a little bit more on my background. As Ed had mentioned, I was a branch manager in banking. I enjoyed my career at the very start, and then I got really discouraged as I got different bosses. Every time I got a new boss or pretty close to it, I felt like I had to reprove myself all over again. And it became very discouraging. And I even had a boss that at one point wanted me to take a lateral move. And I said, no, I wasn't wanting to do that. And he said, but you're the best at it. He says, and I need you at it. And if you don't do it, he says, I will make sure you do not advance your career. That's the kind of thing that I was not wanting to have to experience. And so I started looking at wanting to do things on my own. And so a gal that I used to work with, we both used to complain about wanting to leave the bank. And she called me up one day and said, Mo, are you still wanting to get out of the bank? And I said, yeah, more than ever. And so I went out to take a look at a business. And that, back then, there was no email, cell phones, or websites. And so I had to drive somewhere to go and such, right? And I could be one of those people that, people don't keep showing up. I kept having not to be able to show up because I was stuck at work and such, right? And so it took a while before I got there. And finally I got there, and I heard them talking about antioxidants and free radicals. Didn't have a clue what an antioxidant and free radical was 28 years ago, but they passed around hand lotion. Yeah, our hand lotion. And it was like, wow, if they could make something like this, what else could this company possibly make? The next day, I actually read an article in a magazine about antioxidants and free radicals, and they said, that's the future. And I said, no, it's here now. I thought, I'm onto something, right? And so I jumped in while I was still working 50, 60 hours a week. And, it's been an incredible time. New Skin, is always there for us. And now, of course, even during these times, business has been I think for a lot of people has been soaring. So, and for those that are focusing on collagen, it's even a better time, isn't it? So I'm going to talk about creating contact lists. Now, it doesn't matter how you're building business right now, you need to have a list. So whether you're online, offline, or somewhere in between that, you need to have a list. And so at the start, we're instructed to have pulled off this document. And if you didn't, it is also find it in the file section of Wanting Global Live. And so pull up that document where it's creating contact lists. And this is an area that I'm going to say that an awful lot of people are quite fearful in creating a list. It's like already deciding who's going to say yes and who's going to say no. So they're going to prejudge. Don't worry about it. Now, I'm also going to suggest that you do this with your new person. Okay, don't just send them on their way and say, here, put together this list, go put together a list of names. Help them put together it at the start, and you will find that they will be, running much more effectively. So the goal is on this sheet is that you've got what we call the four corners: family, friends, business, and community. Okay. And so on the first column, it's showing friends. So, when I started in the business, it's a long time ago, right? And so, but I still have been able to connect with friends from the past from various things, high school reunions or things of that nature, right? And so what I want you to think about on that friends list is first is, who is your best friend? Okay. And so I want you to write down their name, who your best friend is, that you would just love them to be in this business with you. Don't worry about whether they'll say yes or no, or don't worry about you think that they're too successful, that they won't, or they don't have time or whatever. Just put their name down. Okay. Everybody done that? Great. And so what I want you to do from that is on the same column is I want you to write down everybody that you know together. So if you wrote down Beth or Sam or Joe or Sally, right, then who do you all know together? You might know 2 people together. You might know 100 people together, right? And so that is how I want you to then take not 10 minutes. I want you to take 2 minutes to write the 10 names down in total of how all those people are connected, that you all know each other. Okay. Chances are it's going to be a much longer list than that, but write their names down. Okay. So take, as I say, 2 minutes to do that. So do that now. Okay, so hopefully you were able to get the 10 names down. And and what I'd like you to do is after this workshop is I want you to take time to expand on that list, okay, of everybody that you know together. Pull out your yearbooks, things like that to jog your mind. It could be that it's people that you actually worked with, you know, that you're good friends from there, that you're all connected somehow. All right, we're going to go over to the next column, family. This one could be the most fearful for everybody is to put their family down on the list. But you know, again, it's going to depend on your age as to whether you're going to maybe, you know, approach your mother, your father, a sibling, a niece, an aunt, that kind of thing, right? Put down the person that you think is the most entrepreneurial, the most, the better go-getter, the bigger go-getter, that kind of thing. So put their name down on that list. And what I want you to do is exactly the same thing, is that I want you to then look at who else in that family connection knows everybody together. So, and this is where you're going to have multiples for family. So like if you're married, for example, you've got family on 2 different sides, you've got your in-laws as well, that side. Okay, then you've got, you know, all of a sudden, I'll even use an example of my family. If I look at my in-laws side of the family, right? I've got a niece and a nephew. Then there's their wife and husband, right? And then they've got their siblings from their marriage side, right? And so even just recently, you know, my one niece through marriage, you know, had lost interest, kind of thing, right? So I've approached her sister, right? Why not, right? You know, and so, but it'll still all be connected somehow. So take the time to first start off with, you know, as I say, either your mother, your father, your sibling, brother, you know, sister, aunt, whoever is you feel is a real go-getter in your family. Start with them and now fill out who they would all be connected with. Okay, so just to keep make sure we're on track. Hopefully you got that done okay. I know that was pretty fast, but just to give an idea. So again, to fill that out when this is over, to take the time. Now, when you go into business, this is where you know, you're going to think of, you know, one of the areas that you can start with is, you know, you could be in business, you could have your own business, you know, even before Nu Skin. And so who do you know through those connections? Or is looking at who is in business that you know that's in business, or it could even be people where you spend money, right? We used to say, you know, go look in your checkbook, but you know, I don't think anybody has a checkbook these days. And so you can look at your online banking, right, and to see where the payments go and things like that, right? So it could be, you know, you've used a plumber, or you've used an electrician, or who is your insurance agent, or who's your mortgage broker, or who's your financial advisor. These people you're all doing business with. And so just put their names on. Do not worry about whether they're going to say yes or no, right? Just put their names down, because it's much more effective to be able to work through a list with names on it than to say 6 months later, I forgot about them, kind of thing, right? So just put their names down, and let's work out with your mentor as to the best approach and who will be approached when. So take a minute for doing that. Okay, and last, so hopefully you finished there. And again, the idea is that if you're not finished, obviously, chances are you're going to be able to expand on that. And then go on to community. Now, the community can be in many areas again. It could be, you know, who you know through church. Maybe you belong to a mom's group. Maybe it's your local barista, you know, if you're like me who likes to go to Starbucks, right? And so there's one Starbucks that I love a lot, that's actually in my Longo store. Longo's is a grocery store here. And one of the gals there, she knows all the time exactly what I want. She goes, your usual, right? Kind of thing, right? I don't even have to ask what I want. And so those are the kinds of people that you would want to be able to approach, because you know they're going out of the way. They're obviously really good with customer service as well. Put their names down, right? So those kinds of things. And if you don't know their name, just put a description of who it is that you're going to go approach, kind of thing, right? So those are the kinds of things that you would find under community, right? And so there's all kinds of different things. Maybe you belong to some other groups. It could be a women's group. It could be just networking groups that you belong to, or there's meetup groups that you might be belonging to, or hiking groups, or yoga groups. I mean, the list can go on forever and a day, and it's only limited by our own imagination as to the different groups that we want to belong to. Obviously, some of those groups you used to meet in person, and now maybe they've taken it online during these times. But that doesn't mean that you're not connected with them still, right? So, you know, they're all there. So take a minute to do that as well. Okay, so you get the idea of completing that list, and you can see that if you were doing that with somebody, that it really wouldn't take all that long. right? It's that, and yet if they go on their own, it's probably going to take them, oh my goodness, you don't even know sometimes how long it takes people to put together a list. And so what you really want to do by doing this activity is you want to get the list to about 400 names. You'll be really surprised that you'll be able to do that. And then over time, over to 2,000 names. And you were going to go, how am I going to get to 2,000 names, Mel? Well, I didn't say that you had to know them directly or that you even knew them at this point in time. And so, when I think about people that are in my business or that I've gotten to know, so for example, at least half of my team at my front line, I should say, is what we call a roll up. I didn't know them. They rolled up either 1 or 2 levels. I even have somebody else that I personally sponsored that I met her when I was on a tour in Italy and such, right? And so you just don't know where you're going to be meeting these people and such, right? So, and it started with her having a problem with her skin on her hands, and we got chatting, and she lives in New York, and there you go, right? So it's how it gets started. So that's how the list will expand over time, obviously, right? And even getting referrals, as people are loving our products, people refer people to you. So that's how you'll be expanding. So take the time today, finish your list so that you get at least that 400 names done today. So hopefully that helps, and I'll turn it back to you, Ed.